Hi, this is Ed, and welcome to San Diego. We are here on Harbor Island. That's the regatta, the San Diego Yacht Club, uh, at a regatta, doing a regatta, and that's the San Diego background. We're going to be joined by Ron Cooper in just a moment, and the program today is about performing outside of your comfort zone. It's really going to be interesting. So let's welcome Ron Cooper. Stand by. And a beautiful day that was when I shot this picture. Ron will be joining us in just a moment. This is all about Ron Cooper, the
Hey,
Cooper culture. Welcome, Ron, and you're being recorded. And this is San Diego Harbor, and I'm standing on Harbor Island, which is, as you can see, a long curved road here. It's right across from the airport, and that was shot on this past Sunday or Saturday, I think. That's the San Diego Yacht Club in Regatta out there.
you have one of the most picturesque views anywhere that on the earth. Wow.
Yeah, it is beautiful. That's for sure. So when the sun is shining, it's really dramatic. And, it's raining today. There's a tropical disturbance about 1,000 miles south of here, off Baja, and it's pushing in rain. It hasn't rained in downtown San Diego since May.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so this is so the good thing is that it's cooling off for the next day or two, and then it's going to get hot over Labor Day. But we're going out to Palm Desert in a couple of hours, and the temperature is not even going to hit 100. So
Oh, that's great.
it's going to be a holiday. So talk about performing outside of our comfort zone. That's the theme today. And when you're in 100 plus degrees, that's not comfort. But
No, you're right. Temperature wise, that is not comfort. But then sometimes, and this is what I'll dwell on a little bit later today, we can be outside of our comfort zone when we are forced into a situation that we feel uncomfortable having to deal with. We don't feel we are either adequately trained or maybe dealing in this area where we know we have to deal might invoke some past memories of failures and so forth.
yeah. So, Ron, this is your program. You're welcome to use the screen share if you'd like to load in your lead-off slide and give
I,
us some
I,
background.
I definitely will, Ed, and coming up in just a moment. But I do want what I'll be sharing is just only a little repeat of last week, but what I consider a necessary repeat is somewhat of a refresher. But what we'll be talking about, as we just discussed, is operating or performing outside of our comfort zone. And comfort zone, many times, is a familiar term, but I want to try to make this as personal as appropriate to where any of us might be. Last week, we discussed the five principles of leadership, and this is a topic that has been spoken of many different times, many different ways. But this is what I spoke of last week, and I'll be going through this just very briefly. And what I'm talking about in the context of the first uh, position of leadership is I'm a leader because it says so on my business card type thing. And we're not necessarily equipped to be, but that's what my business card says I am. The next level up is those under my sphere of influence give me permission to lead them. And so we have I'm going to say, a congenial relationship. And everything is off to a good start. Our next level up is the production level in this example that I'm talking about, and that is explaining our strategic goals, you as the leader. And I'm going to be focusing on just a moment how right in this area right here, we can necessarily operate out of our comfort zone, that you know where you want to go as a business owner. You're explaining that to me, perhaps a family member, and you're explaining that to me, and hopefully I accept that. But that's putting you in just a slightly different role. That is from a family member now to a business leader. The next level up is we want to develop people, and we have discussed in previous episodes generational integration. And quite honestly, Ed, people younger than us will be taking over our position. That's a pretty statement of the obvious. But in the context of generational integration, we want to be able to express ourselves in a way that we're developing people to take over for us. So rather than just being thrust into a position because you've been with us some amount of time, we want to qualify people to serve in a leadership position. And then the top of the 5 point scale is pinnacle. And the pinnacle is we are all in this all together. And I am willing to invest myself in you, your development, and so forth. We're in this all together. Ed, that's a very quick review of what we discussed last week.
I
But
think it's really important that you did that, and I thank you for getting our audience tuned in to this very important topic. And want to welcome Ken Lloyd, Dr. Ken Lloyd. Thanks for showing up.
Thank you. Nice to
Yeah,
see
good
you.
morning, Ken.
Morning,
yeah.
Commander. How are you?
That's all good.
Good.
Now, what I want to talk about and focus on, I'm going to go back to this 5 point depiction, 5 level depiction. And I'm going to operating outside of our comfort zone. And I'm going to be talking about where I believe a lot of this makes us feel uncomfortable is progressing from permission to production. Now, I'm going to put this in the context of some leaders can feel uncomfortable dealing with, if not family members, it is those with whom we have an association. We spoke last week. Can friendship and leadership coexist? I think yes to that, but it's in the context that the leader puts on wears a different hat, and that is friendship. That's one hat. But leadership, that is a different hat. It's the same person, but operating in a different role. And where the operating outside of a comfort zone comes in most from my life experience in coaching other people is when we have those with whom we have a close relationship and they've given us permission to lead them, they're not producing. When those people, and it may be family members, it could be anyone with whom we have a close personal relationship. When these people are not producing, they're not operating at the production level. The place potentially of feeling very uncomfortable is I, the leader, need to have what might be a difficult conversation with someone with whom I have a friendship. In other words, we've got to have, some people call it a come to Jesus meeting, but I feel comfortable that I have to necessarily address this, but that's the different hat I'm wearing. What are you thinking, Ed?
Yeah, you know what? I'm thinking that all of this is just super cool. And the theme of this, once again, is performing your job, your work, your vision, but in an uncomfortable situation. And we're hearing about things that will cause an uncomfortable situation. Then how to deal with it is the next step. I want to bring in Ken quickly here also. Um, but let me pose a question that will help the audience understand this transition. And then the floor will be yours again, of course. Uh, is it important to uh, get this system working to the way you, the leader, wants it to work? Is it, of course it is. I think I'm going to answer my own question, but isn't it the right thing for you to set up a way of learning how to learn, how you want them to learn, and then enable them to just take it and run and learn, and then come back and share how they've learned in order for you to achieve these 5 levels?
And Ed, I think you have answered the question. I believe we need to understand people and its personalities, and we need to choose to adapt to different people. And so that to me is the people development that at the fourth level. But yes, we need to understand people. We need to understand their strengths, their weaknesses, and we need to understand how to have a connected relationship with those kind of people, and we do that through communication. That is how I like to operate.
Thank you very much for that. Ken, from a help point of view here, as a leader, coach, talent development expert that you've had for 18 years in that corporate role, this is in your ballpark, isn't it? Just getting people to want to learn, teaching them how to learn.
Oh, absolutely. And I think it's a bigger picture in terms of how to lead effectively and successfully. And when Ron talks about having communication as such a key basis of this, that's absolutely right. And I know he uses the concept of two-way communication. So it's not just coming down one way. That's being very positional, if you will. It's going back to the most basic. If it's all one way, this is how you do it. I've got more stripes on my arm than you have. Yeah, that's one-way communication. And Ron is talking about appropriately two-way communication. And that's how we really build the team, by listening, by showing empathy, care, concern, and certainly focusing on the employee's development.
And in that context, Ken, yes, I do not want to come across as in a positional aspect of authority, that it's my position. Yes, this is a hierarchical type of company, and I just want for you to know that you are definitely subservient to me. That is going to have very, very short-term results. But Ed, I would say that as we understand people, hopefully I have brought onto my company people who are hungry to learn. And if you're hungry to learn, I want to be the type person where I can effectively communicate with you. And as Ken very articulately said, I want to be a good listener as well. And so when I am a good listener and we can communicate well, I mean, that communication, we've heard the expression before, yes, we can talk, but we're not communicating. I want to be able to communicate, and I do that when I know your personality, and when I choose to adapt myself to your personality, your learning style, and I can motivate you, or let's say I would prefer to use the word inspire you. As I can inspire you to want to learn more, I want to have you in an environment to where you are hungry enough to learn. And I use the expression frequently. It's somewhat of a sports term, but I would hope that you can be all in with everything about our company and wanting to learn, such that we are all progressing together, because you know exactly what the strategic goals are and how you personally contribute to those strategic goals. Ed, I may be talking too much, but that's how I like to put things together.
No, that's okay. I'm sitting here and I'm taking it all in, practicing my critical listening skills. and I'm coming up with an idea here. So, will you teach your people how to learn? how you want them to learn, not to dictate how they learn, but the to create and to sort of in a fireside chat kind of thing with your talent that uh, this is a learning organization, and by learning you're going to be a production organization.
Well, and I will tell you, for me, Ed, in that context, I want to try to create an environment where I inspire innovative thinking. Innovative thinking is not always going to work. And I do want to be the type person where I'm going to say I encourage failings because as we are thinking innovatively and things didn't turn out quite the way we thought or had hoped they would, let's together learn from that. That becomes what I think is a very contributory, very permissive type environment. And in the context of permissive, what I'm saying there is we are learning together. The fact that I am telling you something I have learned is not threatening to me that you may get ahead of me in the company. We're all working together because we are, let's just say, we're aligned to the greater good, the people, the mission of a company. And when you have people on board like that, your learning is always going to continue, Ed. And again, if I am the type person who inspires innovative thinking, not everything's going to work. So we learn together.
Ken, I'm sure you have things to add to this.
Well, just to go on with what Ron is bringing up, he's creating a psychologically safe environment. We've talked a lot about psychological safety, where you feel free to express your thoughts, your ideas, without reprisal, without being attacked for doing so. And yeah, we're going to make some mistakes. There are going to be some, if you will, failures, but we're going to learn from them. We're going to build, we're going to develop from there. And in terms of employee learning, it's also important for us to remember employees learn in different ways. Ron's talking about the importance of treating employees as individuals. It's critical, but people learn differently. I mean, just big picture, some people are more visually oriented when they're learning. Some are more auditory oriented. They learn more by hearing it, as opposed to those who learn more by seeing it, reading it, visualizing it. And there are others who learn, I think the term is actually kinesthetically, by doing it, by hands-on. As leaders, we want to understand our employees are not all going to learn the same way. Gee, I thought I expressed this perfectly clearly, but that's not how this employee learns. This employee really needed to get in and kind of do some of it and build from it. We need to understand and learn from our employees, essentially how they learn, as well.
I want the audience to know how much of an asset you are, Dr. Ken Lloyd. For years, you were doing a Dear Abby kind of newspaper column, but from a business point of view, from a people development point of view.
Yeah, I was really dealing with people at work. What kinds of issues are you having? Whether it's I've got an employee who talks too much, can't stop talking, which I don't want to do on this podcast. But what do you do with the nonstop talker? What do you do with the person who's criticizing? What do you do with the person who steals credit? You did a great job, that person. All of those people-related issues, and those were the kinds of questions I answered. It's always interesting, and there were so many of them because that's really where, if you will, the action is in so many aspects of our work. We're dealing with others.
Did you operate that way in person when you were in charge of that corporate talent development? And Ron, does this kind of a Dear Abby kind of a where you're Abby, Ron Cooper, um, within the corporate structure, where you want people to come to you and ask about the background of the company and how it started and how you see what they are going to be working on is going to help the company get better.
Well, and I'll interject right here just before Ken does, but I want to create an atmosphere where people are curious. I always want people to feel free to ask questions. Why do things work the way they do? And in the context of innovative thinking, I'll make a statement that maybe not everyone will agree with, but the person who makes the same mistake repeatedly does so by choice. what I want to have is people who, and it's leadership, we do accept mistakes, but we're going to move beyond. We're going to improve from the mistakes we made. So we hopefully have made that mistake only once. And so we may make hundreds of mistakes, but we're only making that mistake one time. That we're moving beyond that because we are learning together how to progress.
Ken?
No, absolutely. And people do need, if you will, feedback. And the other word we use is feed forward. If they are making a mistake, so they really understand, it's not to come at them critically, but as a coach, say, here's what's happened. Let's talk about what happened there and what can we do together to prevent that going forward. We don't want to see mistakes being made over and over. And if they are, that's also a reflection on us as leaders. What are we not doing to help this individual learn and apply that learning to the job? What are we missing as well? And again, if a person is just unwilling to learn and grow and develop, that's a whole separate matter. Frankly, particularly with today's younger members of the workforce, there's great interest in learning and in getting feedback and developing and focusing, if you will, on their career development as well. So we're coming in with motivated learners, and that's really where learning will take place if people are indeed motivated to learn. I know my dad in his business many years ago used to talk about what he valued most in people is intellectual curiosity. They don't have to be super smart, intellectually curious. And that just, they do want to learn. They're energized to learn and grow and develop. And you can build with that very, very effectively.
So, Ron, the word there that is blinking yellow and red lights at me right now is permission. That's a two-way street, right?
I think it is, and I need to garner your respect, and I need to give respect so that you can give me permission to lead. So I think it is that in that context, it is a two-way street, but I need to be able to be confident enough in myself to where I show trust to you. And we again, the culture that I want to create is one in which we grow together.
Ken, where does rewards come into this structure?
Yeah, rewards essentially are some kind of positive feedback, tangible or intangible, for work that's well done. People learn through rewards, and it can be just recognition. Great job, you did that well. Hey, you did exactly what we talked about. That's just super. How can I help you even going forward? But rewards, whether again tangible or intangible, are very important. Without rewards, we don't know if we're really hitting the target without getting some kind of feedback. Hey, you did it, great work, keep it up. And that in fact is motivational. And we want to make sure that rewards are genuine, they're timely. I don't want to give that reward 6 months after the appropriate behavior occurred. Hey, remember 6 months ago, you really did a good job. I did. What did I do on what? As opposed to tying those rewards as close to the effective and successful behavior as possible. That really facilitates learning and repetition of the positive behaviors that you just provided the recognition for.
Ron, would you take that example if, let's just say I was, um, given a task and I performed it well, and you wanted to use me as a model, if you will, to the rest of the team, as this is what the chore was, and this is what Ed did, and this is the difference it makes, and so he's going to get a reward. Would would that be? It sounds like that's something that I would do, but it's your show today. So, how do you view what I just said?
What I would say, and it's a very appropriate comment you're making, is Ken and Ed, I really appreciate the way you responded to and during this conversation. You headed off just your tone of voice, your facial expressions, the way you addressed this person headed off a potential argumentative conversation because of the way you handled this. I want you to know, Ken and Ed, and be very specific and immediate. I want you to know that how I appreciate what you did, and I want to make sure others on our staff know about it. So I'm going to praise you personally, but then I'm going to tell you I'm going to mention this in a business meeting, because this is the kind of culture I want for my company. These are the kind of behaviors that I want to reward, but I want to be very specific of what you did, not just, hey, great job yesterday. No, I want to be very specific of what it was, and I want to hone in right exactly on what it was, so that you know exactly and others know exactly what I'm referring to. All of that goes together toward the company culture.
So the words that kind of popped into my head just now is stepping stone as a pathway.
Okay. Now, explain that, Ed. The stepping stone pathway to what end, or what are you referring to?
Fair question. Uh, And audience, this is not rehearsed, as you could tell. Okay, so stepping stone, I am going to be given recognition and an award, uh, and more responsibility or expectations to just do it again. And then you're going to get another reward. And this is a stepping stone or a pathway that others in the organization can model for themselves.
All right. And Ed, I would put what you just said in the context of people development. That what I'm doing is developing you in the positive attributes you have. That let's do more of that, Ed. And that's a very reflective, again, of my leadership and the culture I want to uh, advance, permeate in our company.
And I've tuned in.
And
And
so,
yeah,
yes,
that's
that
success for everybody.
it's success for everybody. And so my hope is no one performs necessarily for praise purposes only, for that personal recognition, but knowing that there is the internal aspect of it. I am particularly fulfilled when I do what I know is right. And I would hope that my supervisor recognizes that. But even if he or she does not, my identity is not based on that recognition. I just hope that if my supervisor does recognize me for that, that's just great. But even if not, I'm internally confident, not arrogant. I'm internally confident that I know I did right. And so, but as a leader, and as I recognize your good performance, Ed, I want to recognize that. And just know that yes, that's how we want to build our company.
Ken, from an organizational development point of view, how would you, and I know this is just off the top of my head here, no warning about this at all. How would you, as a talent developer leader, uh, use me? Would you create a block of work, or whereby I would be the go-to in to coach others?
How would I use you, Ed Cohen, and the service that you provide? Is that what you're
Yeah,
asking?
in this scenario where I performed admirably and the boss liked it and I'm being recognized. So, and it's not to show favoritism to me. It's just that this is how this guy understood what uh, Ron as leader was trying to tell everybody, and I've done it. And so this is how to do it. So Ed is now available to coach and to help others if they want it.
Yeah, I think that it kind of answers the question. You know, you've done an excellent job in what we had requested of you and what management and or I as a leader or your leader has expected. It's clear, it's measurable, it's documented. You've learned, you've grown, and that can serve not only as in a formal coaching or teaching role that you would play, but also by the behaviors that you model. So when we are rewarding or recognizing our employees who do well, and that would be you as well, your behaviors are showing others, oh, that's kind of what it takes to succeed around here in terms of meeting goals and understanding expectations and communicating well and showing ethics and fairness. All of those factors are recognized and rewarded here. They're all part of the culture of this organization. If we have an employee who exemplifies it and can actually demonstrate it and even teach it to others, so much the better. And it can be done formally and informally, just by singling out those employees who have stepped up a bit. Hey, we could really use your help here. And that, in that sense, they can even serve informally as mentors in the organization and let them know, hey, you've been doing a good job in that mentoring role. And just so they can informally apply some of those practices. And by the way, that's helping develop them for the future to serve as leaders and as managers.
Thank you. Ron, would Gen Z find this mechanism that we're describing here, play acting, um, would would this be a communication device that Gen Z would likely respect and get into?
I think yes to that. And my experience with Gen Zs is they do want to be recognized for and acknowledged for what they know. And I have mentioned this before. I'm a believer in reverse mentoring. That is, all three of us were invented or we were born long before the internet and current technology and so forth. We can learn from and through each other. And so the Gen Zs were raised on cell phones and the like. And so we can take the positive of that. And my hope is we can all share with each other such that we learn together. But again, my hope is that we have people in our organization who are hungry to learn. And in your example just a moment ago, Ed, I don't want to force you into a position of feeling you need to coach somebody, but if you have demonstrated you do want to coach others, then I want to help train you to perform in that role. But I do want to recognize what you did as being laudable because that is, I want to edify you for one, but I also want to make known that this is the type company we are, that we want to recognize positive attributes of everyone on our staff.
Well, Ed has been edified.
But then also, Ed, in the context of feeling uncomfortable, if there's anything about the company, the way we operate, where you don't feel comfortable, that might need, and I should be perceptive of that. Maybe I need to provide better training for you to where you feel more comfortable in whatever role you're in. I don't want to force you to do something, but then sometimes there are positions where somebody needs to step up and do this, and hopefully somebody in the company is going to say, well, yes, I'll do that. And yeah, I'm uncomfortable for at least a moment because I'm having to learn something I've never done before.
Wow. I feel this is a great session we're having here because all of these words that we're looking at here are powerful words. And um, the rather than it be a mystery, I really love the way this conversation has developed to bring meaning to each of those words in the context that um, I keep going back to this permission thing, whereby you're looking for permission from the team to teach them, and and that yet that has to be a two-way street, right?
It does. You're right. And I need to earn the credibility to lead, and the credibility has to do with being an authority without being authoritative.
Yeah, can organizational development, right?
Oh, absolutely. And a key part of that is individual development. It all dovetails together. And if employees, and particularly those that are in leadership positions or seeking leadership, can have a way to, if you will, visualize what are the key components here and kind of where am I? Say all of a sudden the leader can look at this and say, oh my gosh, I'm kind of functioning at the position level as a leader, which is least effective, least productive, least respected. What can I do to help move up, if you will, this ladder to be more effective and more successful? And it's just a great tool to have to carry one's career forward. To me, these are like stepping stones. You mentioned the term stepping stone in a different context, but that's really what this is, as you advance your effectiveness in a leadership role.
And Ron, this is because where the company that you own and run is not a manufacturing organization. This is a
It's a service organization.
service.
And again, for whatever good there may be about me, and I don't mean that in any in any solicitatious way, but if whatever good there is about me, I can trace it all back to the farm, and we've talked about that in the last several weeks. But virtually everything I've learned then was because of the atmosphere we had on the farm, being a family. We worked together. And some of the takeaways from my perspective of this conversation are make sure you, as the leader, know your priorities and goals. And are you able to articulate those goals to those that are in your family, your company, and so forth? You need to display trust to earn trust. And that is, you need to give trust to your employees. And I am not a micromanager. I want people on board with me who know what I expect of them, and I will train them to do whatever they need. And so I want to trust them to produce. I want to speak with resolve and compassion, but in speaking with resolve and compassion, I don't want to come across authoritatively, that is, demeaning you in any way. I do not want a hierarchical type of relationship with any of my the folks on my staff. I'm totally accountable for everything that happens in the company, but I don't want people to think that we are in a definite hierarchical role. And I want people to be willing to confront without being argumentative or combative. That is, I do encourage curiosity, as I've mentioned before. And the curiosity might be to the effect of, why do we do things the way we do? And it's a matter of learning. But I'm a believer that every person, every process can and should be improved. If we've been doing what we've been doing for maybe 3 years or so, we might be stagnated. And so I would hope that I create a type environment where I want people to question why we're doing what we're doing. And it's all in the context of we might be able to improve what we're doing because I've thought into this and I have given this very careful thought. And let's together come up with possibly a better solution to the way we do things. And so these are some of the takeaways I think that are going to create a very high functioning organization.
Well, we have about 7 or 8 minutes left. Ron, where do you want to take this next?
Well, and I would hope that those listeners, viewers, that you too want to have a high functioning organization. Not all businesses are high functioning. There are some that have a very toxic environment, and that can come about for any number of reasons. But if for anyone watching, listening, who feels we're just not at the high productive level we can be because of, and in some cases, some people would say, I don't feel we're there, but I don't know why we're not there. And so I have a proprietary method where I can help analyze what the problem may be that's keeping a company from operating at the pinnacle level. I would hope that I could have the opportunity to work with various companies and help them develop the culture to where they can retain people. And again, I've said it before, I know it can cost a minimum $65,000 to replace a person for acquisition costs and loss of productivity. And certainly, if we have an environment where we might even litigate each other, I can tell you we can probably surmise that any litigation could go into the millions. My hope is we would never get to that point, that we can talk with each other, we can resolve differences of opinions, even though we may feel uncomfortable doing that. But hopefully, we have the environment, the culture to where we can work through these things and together. Together is a very operative term for Marty and me. Together, we will have a very high functioning, high productive culture and company. So those are some of the takeaways that I have, my thoughts, and I would hope that we have the opportunity to work with any of those people who want to reach that level.
Very valuable information today. Ken, would you like to sum up from your view?
Well, I think you can see from what Ron has spoken about and displayed today that this is really a value added proposition in every respect. And if you really want to add value to your organization, to your people, to your team, to the entire culture, this is a wonderful way to do it. And you can see that it's not this elite, overly written or overly analyzed approach. This is real, it's hands-on, it's based on research and experience. And it's the kind of approach that can really help individuals and organizations. To me, it's just truly a great way to add value.
Thank you. Thank you, Ron, for
Yeah,
being
thank
the
you, Ed and Ken. That you two are experts in your own fields, and yes, together we learn from each other, and that's the great environment that we would need to have.
Well, we'll see you next week on the Cooper Culture.
All right, great. Y'all have a great week.
Same to
Thank
you.
you.
Take care. Be
Thank
well.
you. Bye bye
Bye.
now. Okay,
Bye-bye.
Ed signing off. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.